I'll say I think Macross Delta has a stronger ensemble
Yeah.
than a lot of the other Macross shows so far, but it does have its weaker main character.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with more episodes of Macross Delta. Word to the wise, we did not record for a week because we had other things that we needed to do for the channel, so might be that our thoughts are a little bit more separated from how on it we may have been before, if we were even on it before, I don't know. But yeah, we're back again, and we're doing our normal thing. Just letting you know ahead of time, we're a bit more separated than we typically are. That said, though, first thing we've got here is comments. Explorian from Macross Frontier, the episode Close Encounter. My favorite Macross. Thanks for the reaction. By the way, I would like to recommend you to a few other robot/mech series. 1999 Dual Parallel Trouble Adventure, 2000's Vandred, 2003 Godnair, 2004 Fafnir.
I heard of Vandred and I've heard of Fafnir. I haven't heard of Gardiner.
Yeah, I mean, I may have heard of Godnair from somebody else's recommendation. I'd have never actually seen anything about it, but I'm in the same boat with you. Vandred and Fafnir. Well, actually, no, probably the same thing. I've heard the name somewhere, but I've never seen anything for it. Same thing with the Dual Parallel Trouble Adventure. I've never even heard of that. Oh, I guess I'll just add it to a list somewhere, maybe for the solo stuff. Stupid thought. And I have nowhere else to put it except for at the tail end of this comment. Stupid thought. AnyList, right? Where I usually go for the seasonal trailers and whatnot. You can just type in winter-gear and it will put whatever was there. Like, I can go winter-1979 and it will tell me that Astro Boy 1969 Astro Boy from 1969 was airing in the winter that season. And it'll even tell me, well, obviously, not in this case, because there was no following anime. There's no anime that was already airing. But you can do that for every season on AnyList. I'm thinking, what if I do what I'm doing for my normal seasonal stuff, but I just go way back to the beginning, and I just do a ranking thing for every season and have people vote on what I watch that season. Well, the only detractor to that idea is that the real early stuff is always over 100 episodes or something. It's like I would watch one show and then 2 years later I would be done. It's like, all right, next season. It's like,
yeah.
I would be trapped in the early anime for a long time.
Yep.
The other thought was maybe I'd start with my birth year, 1984, and just work forwards from there, because that's also about the time where they get down to 20 episodes a pop. Just a stupid thought that I had, because I'm always thinking of when a fucking stupid gimmick to pull. Alright, next up we have Crystal Wolf from Macross Frontier, also the episode Close Encounter. A fun fact about the opening, the singer is Maya Sakamoto, who many may recognize as Aerith in Final Fantasy. It also is the only song with lyrics not to be sung by Cheryl, Mayan, or Renka Megumi Nakajima in this series as well. The animation from Satellite certainly has evolved since Macross Zero, as this is the second series they produced of the Macross franchise.
I know right now that they're doing an idol search for the next Sunrise next Macross series, and once they have that, I don't know if they started.
Well, I mean, we've talked about that already.
Yeah,
on recording. I mean, as we've talked about that on recording already, as opposed to all the other Macross stuff that we've talked about off.
But wonder is if they're going to have her or them. They have more than one. Be both the singer and the voice actress for the character that they're pursuing. Probably. I mean, that's what they did with Lin Min May. In fact, that was her only voice acting credit. She was primarily a singer and singer songwriter now. But yeah,
No clue. I mean, there's not much information out there about what the next one's even going to be, let alone, you know, still searching for whoever the person is.
yep.
All right, and our last comment, Blue Vegas from Across Frontier. Not also. This one's from On Your Marks. To me, that stood out more so as a genuine moment from Cheryl because Cheryl said it herself. She doesn't give advice like just to anyone. So yeah, she wouldn't be saying these things to randoms, XD. And to me, Ranka idolizing via fluffing her went out the window when the event that they had together happened. If Cheryl had placed her into the fan zone, I doubt she would have said what she said. What she had said, because it would have just been another fan.
We're talking when they meet in the three of them meet in the park
On your marks.
for
So I'm
yeah.
pretty sure it's episode 3.
Rank is there. No, Cheryl's there. Ranka finds her, and then Wells shows up. What's his name? Alto shows up. So in that, and then talking about, hey, they're doing this, and then they end up in the shelter, um, because of another Barger attack or a continuation of the original Barger attack.
Okay.
So that's the scene that he's referring to.
Well, I know. I'm aware.
Yeah, but to the audience who might not recall
Well, I just
after how
thought
many
you
episodes. Yeah.
started going down that road like you had something more to say about it. I didn't know you were just describing when it happened.
I mean, I agree with what he has to say. I find Cheryl in Frontier more sympathetic character than you do, but that's just me.
It's your favorite show. Well, that's your second favorite show. That's your favorite show? I'm confused. You said it was your favorite show, but now I have a lot of memory of you saying Macross Plus is your favorite show. So I don't remember anymore.
Well, I do have to reassess which one is number one, but those two are fighting for number one spot right now.
Yeah, no. Macross FB7. That's number 1. It's 2 good shows all in one. I got my peanut butter
Not,
and my chocolate all together.
I don't like peanut butter anyway, so no.
Well, you are in a minority.
To me, I'm wrong.
Anyway, we also have a board.
Yeah.
My board change logs recently across all shows have been lacking, so I'm kind of trying to half wing this.
Mhm.
I've added Elizabeth Mustang, Hack Mustang, Zach Mustang, Q Rule, Marianne Mustang, Heinz Nerich Windermere, and Gramia Nerich Windermere. And I'm saying lacking because obviously I've got the people I've added. I just did not mention the lines anymore.
Yep.
Obviously, the Mustangs are all related to one another. Maureen has a thing for Messer, so that's the
Yeah,
green line with
Marianne.
the love arrow. Obviously, the Windermeres are all related to one another. I'm also realizing that I need a new thing other than a blue line, because typically the thing that I would used to do in layouts is that I would have like the parents on top and the blue line going between them and going down to their kid. But when you like lay it out like this, you might think that dad had a child with the little one here, and that's it up here. It's hard to tell. So like maybe I need
Yeah, yeah.
a parents line, a child line, people that are married line. Like I don't know, future thing. Yeah, obviously I realizing now I also made another mistake that I'm just gonna correct right here live.
Interesting that Mustang and Buccaneer are also names of uh, fighter planes, as is also Nakajima as well. Well, Nakajima is the name of a Japanese corporation that built fighters during World War II. So there's that.
Sure. Sorry, it's not that I don't care. Well, I actually don't care, but at the same time, it's something I'm used to getting a lot with, like, Fail Fisher from Manchester Knight Raiders. All the characters in that show are named after fucking cars. So every episode was just by the way, this character is named after this car. It's like, okay. I don't know
I
anything
mean,
about.
it's
I
also a
know.
horse and a car, but yeah.
I literally know as much about cars as I do fighter jets. So it's all over my head, like a fighter jet
Yeah.
or a jumping car.
So no more notes and no more
No more notes. We haven't even gotten into notes.
comments. I don't know if
All
Ethan
right,
had any
so we've
comments.
got notes. Of course, I've gotten more, so that means I go first.
Of course.
The meta play of note taking.
Mhm.
Mirage's ploy of bringing Hayate up and spooking him with how intense flying around in a Valkyrie is wasn't a bad plan. I mean, would have worked on the Jamming Angels. Unfortunately for her, Hayate is a protagonist. The scene transition felt a bit odd, though. They are standing next to her Valkyrie, then she flies him around, then we are standing next to the Valkyrie again, and Arad and Messer are just back here again, too. It felt like a sitcom moment where we all flashed to another scene and then came back again. Just missing a laugh track or something.
I did make note of that. I mean, it was still going to be part of his training, regardless of because he's a student pilot. So the first, I do make a note about later on how he's not flying solo, and why are they using a simulator for this? But
I
it
feel
is
like
part of it.
there's something lacking in the element of I have a note later on, and then you say the note out loud.
Well, I didn't say the entirety of the note,
It
so
really
I
felt
just
like it did.
mentioned.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, it just seems like you're saying the whole thing. Anyway, my point isn't about it not being a part of his training, even though, that's when he comes back, Aerith says, hey, you should train him. It's the element that they are literally standing there, Aerith and Messer, and Hayate and Mirage are also just standing there next to the plane. So they're like, let's do this thing then. And then they fly off, do all that shit, and then they come back in exactly the same shot. They're standing exactly where they were. Arad and Messer are standing exactly where they were, as though you were watching Family Guy, and Peter just said, oh, this reminds me of a time when I did this, flash to that scene, come back, and we're still all standing where we were standing.
Oh, based on the budget, I guess. Characters don't have to move around too much. On to my first note. Something weird I noticed. Well, not weird. I just something noticed while they were doing that scene. There seems to be kind of script underneath the word caution on the nose wheel hatch of Mirage's Valkyrie. But it doesn't look like human language or Centrati's script. Yes, I checked to see if it was Centrati's script, and it kind of looks like hieroglyphics. So it could be the Sarga. That's one. No, Ragna language, perhaps.
I doubt
But
it.
yeah,
I mentioned it during the reaction because it also kind of looked like if you were going to keep a kill count on your thing, except it's weird that it was under a caution thing.
yeah, that's
So I didn't heavily investigate it since I had mentioned it during the live reaction. But the script that they use on Ragna doesn't look like anything else I've seen in the show before.
yeah. So it wasn't Centrati. It wasn't look like a human language unless this was Maya script or Aztec script. Which would be weird, but sure, whatever. So
I don't
especially
know.
if it's
I'm
supposed to be a
actively watching Madoka Magica, and when the monsters show up, they've got some fucking weird language thing that I can't make out that isn't a real language. So I'm already going through this shit with other shows.
I mean, especially when it's supposed to be a caution, because the whole idea is, you know, caution stickers in aircraft like this says don't. It's like a don't step here, keep your hands away from that, right? So that you don't damage components, right? That's what it is basically.
Which is going to be an element that everybody around here understands a lot of different languages.
I guess so.
So I mean, I had that thought when what's his name, the Mustang Elder guy, Chuck.
That,
When Chuck keeps making Earth references, and by Earth references I mean Earth as in ground. just seemed odd for a person from Ragna to be saying that. And I don't mean that from the aspect of, like, I think he uses capital E Earth. But also he comes from a water planet where you all have gills. Like, why do you still have that in your lingo?
I mean, he could be speaking. I mean, he's speaking whatever the language humans are speaking. So the I guess he picked up those references. They may not be in his original language. They might not be there.
Anyway, that was your note. Hayate is a bit of a dick. He's hunched over thinking he's going to throw up, waits till everyone else is gone, stands up and gets closer to Mirage, and then just blows on her. More than that, he then gives her a nickname for him having thrown up on her.
Yeah, that's a dick move. Also, they apparently don't have barf bags, which should be standard.
Well, he's already outside the cockpit, so unless he carried it with him.
Yeah, you put they're part of your flight suit. Barf bags are
well,
also
the whole point was showing how he doesn't have any experience with any of this.
Good thing he didn't puke in his own helmet. That would have been horrible. So to my next note then. Kaname is invoking the idol purity clause, which was common in idol contracts in Japan, which states that idols can date, but these were deemed illegal in Japan in 2016. Delta came out in 2018. So she could be lying about either to discourage any attention from what's his name?
She is lying. Ironically, this is exactly my next note as well. So
attention from Chuck Mustin. Minutes later, she invites Messer to eat dinner, but he shoots her down. So she was lying.
Yeah, same thought. Walkure is not allowed to associate with men, so says Kaname, blowing off Chuck, inviting her to eat, but not 2 minutes later, she's inviting Messer to grab a bite, and later on, they are all at a party with a bunch of men. I think we might have a big old triangle. Chuck likes Kaname, and Marine both like Messer. It's implied that Aaron and Kaname might be into each other, and Messer likes nobody.
Yeah, Messer sounds like a dick all around.
Actually, say that. I think Messer might be my favorite character of the show so far.
Yeah. Also, I think it's Marianne, but sure.
I don't give a shit. Literally, she is such a nothing character. I had to screenshot her from the show because no site has a picture of her listed. Or her name, for that matter. I had to just... Thankfully, they said it out loud. In fact, the kids don't have pictures either. Elizabeth does on one site. But otherwise, I had to take the kids too. That's right. You heard me. In recording, I have said I had to take the kids too. But, yeah, that's why I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if the character is so nothing that nobody has kept track of her. She's not also on the wiki for Macross. So, no, I say I have to go all over the place looking for these characters to put them on the board. So, somewhat fucking annoying if I have to make that much more extra effort to find a screenshot to grab them from. But you know, you said Messer is a bit of a dick and whatnot. I like him because he's a more complicated character. I have future notes about him. Well, I have one future note about him, but I want to say that he's more of a not tortured, complicated figure. He's not essentially one. He's not essentially one way, and nothing he said is wrong. Calling him a dick, he's not wrong.
No.
And if you're like, if you're putting your life in other people's hands because you got to fly information and fight together and everything, I think you're the dick. If you're not like taking your training seriously and whatnot, it's like fuck off, don't be here.
Yeah,
Hayate is the dick if you think about it in a realistic version.
To my next note then. I like how Hayate gets into trouble for pushing the controls too hard. Fighters have always been notorious for needing a light touch on the controls, especially modern fly-by-wire aircraft. Although this lesson should have been taught in a simulator first. Having crashed a few times before taking him on a solo flight, unlike Alto or Hikaru, Hayate may know how to control a Battleroid, but Vogs are first and foremost fighters. See, that's the one thing about this whole episode. All of it, or most of it, should have been in a simulator.
Maybe it was supposed to be. He fucking leaves every training
Yeah.
session and only
Yeah.
shows up for when the flying is going to happen. You're saying it should have happened in a training simulation. Yeah, probably would have been. It's probably one of the things he skipped out on. He fucking sucks.
And we do know that simulators exist because they're mentioned in the original series. We saw them in Macross Plus to the point that somebody literally broke a simulator. And we also see them in
7.
that simulator kind of sucked.
Well, it was still it wasn't a full on simulator. It was simulating your ability to take turns and move at high speeds.
And we also see them in Frontier as well.
Right.
So,
well, I said Freya stole the phone since she formed a contract and then ran, and then the kids called her a phone thief too. So
yeah, but the kids were also scamming her because they slapped the phone on her without her permission. So,
well,
I don't
the
think
problem
that
that doesn't
would have,
matter. That doesn't matter though, because she also touched it and then formed a contract. So
yeah, it's a scam. The kids scammed her.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, I think they did too. Because somebody
Tell me what she lost. What did she lose?
No, she has to now pay for the damn phone.
She didn't though.
Well, she would have.
She didn't,
because
and she hasn't. But she's still wearing it around her wrist. So
and probably doesn't know how to take it off.
literally haven't scammed her because there's no scam. She didn't lose anything. She in fact
Because she didn't
gained a free phone because she just stole it. As I
It's a
said,
scam that
she's a thief.
She avoided the scam because she wasn't contractually obligated to pay for the phone.
She
In fact,
avoided a
says,
scam by becoming a thief. Is the thing. She did still run away with somebody else's property.
which the person intended for this person to have.
It
it's just that
doesn't matter at the end of the day if they are a scam artist. You still ran away with property that is not yours. That is still not even in the fog, right? That is something that happened.
Yeah, so she has to do is take it off and give it back here.
I'm sure she probably
case
does,
you
but
don't.
that doesn't change the fact that previously, in a span of time, she did run away with a phone and own stolen property.
So you're on the side of the scammers. Okay, I see.
I don't think I'm on anyone's side. I'm literally defining terms. I said that she stole the phone, and she did steal the phone. That's all I'm saying. You're the one picking a side. I'm just defining the factor that it happened.
I think I still would get her off with no charges for that.
I don't think you would. I don't think you know what the laws are on Ragna.
I would try though.
Also, you're not a lawyer. You would be like, you'd be literally like a defendant defending themselves. You had no idea what the laws are around here. Also, it's the future.
So the laws are worse in the future? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm saying it's different at the very least. It's also an alien planet. So,
yeah,
probably laws of their own.
Yeah, true, but also under the Noons. Well, I think things like contractual law probably are things that are regulated across the board.
Depending.
Stuff like that.
Remember, this is also an area that had a war of independence, and it's in a war zone now.
Windermere had a war of independence.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, though, that war of independence may have affected laws for the region. You know, Windermere is saying this, and they're fighting a war of independence. So, oh shit, I just hit. Anyway, they're fighting a war of independence. So, to reflect that, to give you guys better terms in the legal status that we've given you, we're going to change things here so that you guys don't rise up against us the same way that they did. I'm saying it's the future. It's an alien place in the far corner of the galaxy. Who the fuck knows? And again, also, we're in a war status like right now. Who knows if Windermere wins, what the laws will become. I fucked myself up when I hit my space key, waving my hands around until he hit something. Alright. Hayate as a pilot trainee sucks compared to all of our other main pilots so far, by which I meant all the past ones. Despite his want to for being a pilot, he could barely handle himself in a ride-along. Then, given the chance, he blows off all his classes and a chance to get to know the commander in a personal one-on-one training. It'd be different if he was an Isamu who was already good at this. but he's leaning more towards a Basara at the moment, without the skill. I mean, he argues that the job is about flying and not fighting, but he can't even fly. Hell, his is flying the way you want to have fun. Is flying that way even fun? To Mirage's "the sky is a battlefield" is also nonsensical. He is here to do a job, not to have fun. Go find the descendants of Hikaru's circus performers if you want to have fun. You need to protect the Walkir and everyone around them if you're joining Delta Squadron.
Which I think is supposedly the lesson he has to learn along the way.
Well, that's the problem also of taking notes across 3 episodes, is the character might learn the lesson before you're done taking your notes. So,
the Sea Cat pulling a Cobra maneuver underwater was pretty cool. For people who don't know what the Cobra maneuver is, and we see it later on. When
I believe that's
like
when the Cobra commander leaves the battlefield before the rest of his soldiers, though. The Cobra maneuver.
No. If you watch Top Gun, the original, putting on the brakes and letting the other guy fly, that's the Cobra maneuver.
Oh, you mean when you jump a fence with your motorcycle to catch a girl on a horse? That's the Cobra maneuver.
Not the Cobra maneuver. By the way, that maneuver originally, and this is interesting, was developed by the Swedes on the aircraft called the Draken, which is the aircraft that the Knights of Windermere are based on. And in fact, it's called the Draken 2, so yeah, Draken 3. So there you go.
Not a lot of development on the Draken over the last 100 so years.
No, makes for a cool, mech though.
What did I say? It's for jet nerds.
Your next note then.
Sorry, my next note is actually just a thing for me to fold receptors, generate vital fold waves in concert with our mind. Activates when our vigor kicks in.
So people are excited or maybe sad or other emotions, yeah.
But I'm going to combine that with my next note because that one's just a note from me, and the next note is probably something you're going to argue the shit out of me for no reason. Like everything else today. I guess the Elysium is a battle type like from Macross 7 and less of an SDF-1, as we see a city ship in the background of shots implying that these two were together at some point.
I think it's the right size or shape, and it doesn't have... Because the difference between
there's the element later that it launches a carrier thing from its arm like the SDF-1 did, but the fact that it's here with a city ship and we don't see any other battle type around.
The thing is, if it were Battle 7, the Battle 7s are known for having their big gun being literally like a pistol, like rifle weapon. Well, this one has the shoulder cannons of an SDF, a Macross type.
They're not
it
all.
Is exactly.
They're not all Battle 7s. That's why I'm saying battle type, because Battle 7 was for City 7. So they're all battle
There was
types.
a Battle Frontier and the Battle Galaxy and all of them.
That's what I said. That's why I'm using battle type. Because battle is the descriptor. Yeah. Well, I think they have their own class name. I don't know. But I think when I say battle, we all recognize, oh, you're talking like Macross 7 stuff.
So I think it would be more like the global than anything else.
I don't know. I'm equating it to the city ship, but as I said, I understand that the carrier launched from its arm, which is more of an STF kind of thing.
Also remember that it belongs to Chaos, which is later on it's a PMC. So yeah,
I don't know that even matters.
Well, like the quarter Macross quarter, right?
They stole that though, so it doesn't imply that PMCs only own quarters.
They owned that originally, and then they defy orders. They didn't steal it.
Bryler owns that.
Yeah,
because Bryler pays that PMC for all their equipment. So technically, they do still steal it from Bryler. Assuming I don't know. I don't even remember Bryler being in the movie, so we haven't still yet established which is canon yet, the show or the movie, or if it's a mixed canon situation, what people love to hear about when we talk about that.
Then to my next point, then. Messer has a point. If you don't keep your eye on the ball, you will die. That's it. That's the point.
All right. Well, my next note goes, before that. I still think the duel was ridiculous. Hayate needs to land one hit and can be shot any number of times within a 5-minute window. Granted, anything can happen in a fight, but judging your trainee on the fact that they can get one lucky shot off every 5 minutes should not be the benchmark for the person who is going to be responsible for guarding the people who can fight back against the infectious disease tearing through the galaxy. More than that, someone singing at you doesn't just give you skills you don't have before or didn't have before. Hayate sucks at piloting. He hears Freya and suddenly understands the intricacies of the VF-1EX. All the things he failed to learn during classes was just downloaded into him by a song from a girl that also doesn't know any of this. I get being inspired and motivated, but neither of those things gives you ability. Also, what, Hayate can only pilot while Freya is singing?
Yeah, that's the part I really have a problem with. And one can assume that he at least knows how to use the Battleroid mode because of his formal, his last job, and do it well. We can do the whole element dance thing. But aside from that, yeah, like I said earlier in my note, Valkyries are first and foremost fighter planes. The
I
other
mean,
modes are secondary.
I would argue that you're also wrong about that. The previous job experience thing, because he danced on the ground, and now he's using the jets to keep himself in the air in that mode, which would be so much more difficult.
Yeah.
In fact, would invoke all the shit that he could not keep himself in the air with before.
And I'll talk about Hayate. At least he's willing to learn, unlike some other airhead mecha jocks.
Except that he wasn't. Well, sorry. To this episode, he wasn't. Again, the problem with
But
taking notes across 3 episodes is that the character
no,
can
at the
evolve.
very end, he does say, I'm willing to stick with it, and he apologizes to Mirage. So,
Yeah, I'm talking about to the point of where we're at in the notes section.
well, that's what my last note of this episode. So, yeah,
Also, we actually never see him back in class. So, it's all words, really.
essentially, he's still training. So,
Yeah. That's why we use the word ostensibly, because we have no proof.
um, oh, and there's also I actually didn't make a note about that. I should have, but go ahead.
I'm always adding notes after the fact. What's the thought?
No, about the fact that they changed his aircraft so that he could fly it better because without the AI.
Oh,
control.
actually, I do have a note about that. So,
Yeah.
not this next one, though. The Walkir hand sign is next level Vulcan salute. Been trying. It ain't happening. I just
Yeah, I
cannot
know.
bend those fingers in that way. It just does not happen. Like,
Yeah, no.
I think we maybe talked about trying to do it before, and I was like, yeah, I had my hands under the table, been trying to force it. It's just like,
Kind of close, I guess.
yeah, they cross, and then the two come out, but I can't
Yeah.
even force it. Like, obviously, I
But
pushed
you
it.
gotta do the thumb thing to keep it in place. I think that's
Well, no, I mean, you see them in the show. They just do it like, they do it.
yeah, that's the only way I can do it because you gotta put that. Yeah,
I don't have the flexibility. Just I'm trying hard as I can, and on camera it just looks like my fingers are together. It's like,
yeah.
so yeah, next level Vulcan salute. We all were like, this is fucking impossible, and then one day we were all just like, yeah, we can do that. That's easy. So it's next level.
I mean, I could. I sometimes I gotta that I can do. It takes a little while, but and that was all my notes of episode 3, Cycle Dogfight. So I now go to my next set of notes of shocking stage debut, episode 4. Interesting that the older brother is kneeling before the younger one. Um, Could power be determined both by blood, but also by the ability to interact with protocultural artifacts in Windermere?
It's a culture where you live to be 30 years old and then start dying. So it could be the older you are, the less viable as an heir you are.
And yet we see other people, like younger pilots, especially one of them call the other one master. It's like, oh, don't call me master anymore. So, and the prince deferring to the king who's dying. So,
Well, no, not well. The prince isn't deferring. What's his name? Is the one that you're talking about, the older one,
Both of them are in the
the
same
White
pictures.
Knight.
It's Royd and the prince are kneeling before the picture.
Technically, the White Knight is deferring to Royd, who is then talking to the king. And as per another thing that you mentioned, you probably have a note about, is Freya sees him and says, "Her Highness,"
Yeah.
even though he's not of the line. He's the prime minister or something. So
the prime minister, yeah.
it's interesting that the narrator specifically says that the Walkyier singing can pacify the FAR syndrome. It doesn't say cure it. Zach Mustang even says suppressing and preventing, but also not curing.
I have a note. My next note about that, because they also use the word
Vaccine.
vaccine. So while cure mostly can only stop outbreaks, but vaccinate against them.
Well, to be fair, they don't use the word vaccine in the same context as pacify, suppress, and prevent. They use vaccine in the context of the concert is a vaccine concert. So, I mean, in this case, vaccine's not being used in the same context of prevention or, well, that's what the vaccine concert's for, but it's not being used in the medical term. It's being used in the what's we're calling it term.
Cool. Makes sense. Well, since I gave my note, what's your next note then?
The crystals in the chamber where Hines is singing are called relics by Royd, implying that this is all a protoculture thing. They also seem to resonate with Hines' singing, as per my previous theory that this is the cause of the VAR syndrome. One then has to question what the purpose of this place was then. If the VAR syndrome spreading across the galaxy is the result, I'm of two minds of this. Either it is working as intended, or it is not. We like to think of the protoculture as enlightened, given the peace message that we got from Macross 7, but we have to remember that they were fighting a war against themselves, which is why they created the Zentradi and the evil in the first place. They were really no better than us. So it's not impossible... Sorry, go ahead.
No, finish. Because
So it's not impossible that the Windermerians discovered a protoculture weapon. The idea that it's not working as intended reminds me of the second book of the Hichi saga, Beyond the Blue Event Horizon, which features an alien food production ship found in the Oort Cloud, where this guy is using a dreaming chamber, and it turns out that every time he uses it, his dreams and nightmares cause planet-wide fevers back on Earth. So the idea that this whatever this room is could be not a weapon, and it's being used improperly, and using it improperly is causing the VAR syndrome, or it is being used properly and it was a weapon because the protoculture were fighting a war that they ultimately lost. Reminder. So,
well, I have a question about the VAR syndrome, and I don't think this chamber was designed to spread it. To activate it, yes, but not to spread it.
So, but you're still on the boat of working as intended.
Until proven otherwise, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Sorry, I think I've mentioned the Hichi saga a number of times. Typically, I only reference the first book, which is Gateway, because that's also what people know the series as. Frederick Pohl, alien meteor over Venus, has a bunch of ships on it. You don't know how they do, where they go, and the hope is you're going to find your path to riches by discovering a bunch of alien artifacts, because also it's an Earth is overpopulated, starving to death sort of situation. And that's where my mind goes, because it's literally this guy just, there's a dreaming chamber, because he's also alone on this ship when they discover him. So he just like fucking just going through his dreams. Like it lets you control your dreams and whatnot. And he's like, oh, this is cool. Doesn't know that it's like sending signals to Earth, which is making everyone fucking sick every time he uses it. So who's to know what the protoculture, this mysterious high-tech civilization, made this thing for? Like, it could be anything to them, and we're just using it wrong, or Windermere's are using it wrong, and are causing this other effect. Because again, it was like, really, it's 1-to-1 for that book. You're singing into it, doing your thing, and it's causing all these weird effects because maybe it's meant to do something else. But then again, on the board, the whole theory is where we gotten before that the protoculture went to space, and then they had their whole Civil War thing where they created the Zentradi to fight for them, and then the Zentradi killed them. So the idea that the protoculture might be too civilized to fight or create weapons like this doesn't seem to be a thing either. So they may have made a whole galaxy weapon thing. Who knows?
They mentioned once again Lady M, so the questions remain: who is Lady M?
Oh,
Seems to be
I forgot to mention that on the board. Sorry, I don't even know if you're even looking at the board anymore. I have a green line from Lady M to Buccaneer because it seems like Buccaneer is the only one who's communicating with Lady M. Specifically, Arad has a conversation with her. It's like, what did Lady M say? So, represented on the board.
That was my note.
Recorded biological fold waves are drastically reduced in effectiveness as compared to live versions. I guess that goes some ways to explaining Firebomber's recordings then, as they still worked being played in the hospitals. I suppose implying that Basara had even stronger biological fold waves than Walkir. At the same time, I feel like this is the midichlorians of Macross. Anima Spiritua was actually biological fold waves all along. Literally, when we look at them looking through the little thing, it's like little wavy shit. So it's like maybe they're reading the same charts that we see Walkir when they're studying Freya's. I can't remember what they called it. Fold something. It's like they say it's non-active and whatnot. Maybe it's literally the same thing.
I decided to call something else.
Well, because one is mysticism. We don't know what it is, and also we did a lot of fucking mysticism shit in Macross 7, and now this is the science.
Okay. I called her something else, but what is Mikumo? Why? Not what. Why is Mikumo naked atop a rock formation talking to the sky?
I have a future. Well, I guess I can read it here. I just remember to go back. Bakumo asks why people sing, then inquires to what emotion Freya will be singing with at the concert. Her singing line is mystery. Beyond the whole she's naked all the time thing, there is something going on with her I feel like is going to be revealed down the line. Also noted in last episode, her singing could be strengthened if Freya's singing were stabilized. They're leaning into her having a whole mystery plot that hasn't really been informed yet. So I'm assuming that the singing thing is all. I didn't make a note about this, but I'll add it to this line as well. Her hair sometimes moves on its own. Like it raises up when nobody else is like being affected by wind. So, kind of a whole Ranka thing if you think about it.
Talking about Ranka, and we have Ranka Beach.
Didn't see that or hear it.
It's a brief shot. Somebody's running on the beach, and you see the dome city that landed, and literally there's a sign that says Ranka Beach.
That'd make a lot of sense, actually. Well, unless they renamed it. Yeah. This is only. Well, we have the timeline on the board, but she's famous. They could have renamed it.
Yeah,
because this place was settled a long time ago, so assumedly this place had a name already. And they're like, oh, famous person. We'll rename it. I'm going to guess Hayate's upgraded VF31 is going to have elements of the VF22, specifically the modification Max's VF22 had from the VF21, given the helmet/X gear system stuff hinted at in the welcoming gift video.
Yeah, which I was going to talk about, but it was supposed to be used as a backup just in case.
Yeah.
He really wants to get the maximum.
Well, this is what I said back when you said that you didn't make a note about it. I said I got something about it, but the helmet system reminded me of the VF22 that Max has at the end of Macross 7, which is itself designed as an upgrade from the VF21, which I believe is a conversation we had back then, because I think you thought it was a VF21 or something, but
yeah, well, it looks like a VF21, but then the VF21 never actually The YF-21 never went into production, so the
Right.
VF-22 is a
So I'm assuming that they're going to take the helmet, the VF-22 system, and apply it to the VF-31. Because again, Hayate fucking sucks as a pilot. But what if we could just make his thoughts into reality? Or what if the weird area that we go into when Frey is singing and he turns into a naked guy flying through the air? What if that was how he controlled the plane? It's like, I don't know. This seems like what we're going to do. Also,
yeah.
what other thing has been helmet related?
Also, they mentioned the X system, which is based on the Frontier power armor system as well, which I think is now the standard all Valkyrie. So yeah, which is one of the reasons why Alto Alto was training to be a pilot. I mean, he was already somebody who knew how to fly in the power arm and do all basic maneuvers and all that. And the school specifically was made to train pilots. So yeah, um, so Alto was far better prepared than Hayato ever was.
As I said, Hayate is the worst.
And, and Freya reveals that the average lifespan of a Windermerian is only 30 years, question mark, Earth standard. I mean, years could be different, should be different in Windermere,
Well,
but,
it goes back to what we were talking about the whole the laws, right? That
mhm,
probably UN Spacey has like a whole Earth standard time thing going on.
yeah. But still, I mean, the Windermerians should still be able to have their lifespans checked by their own rotationals.
Well, yeah, but we don't hear that from a Windermerian. We hear that from the
Yeah.
outside. Also, I
Yeah,
guess I
well,
should probably add my
she's a Windermere. She says that she can. Oh, we'll only live 30 years or so. You only
no,
have
no,
to
no.
live
She said something like that, but it's explained to us from a third party character.
Mirage is the one
Yeah,
that's right.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking about. Also, I should
yeah,
probably add my note here because I also realized that I have a 30-year-old note too. So a 30-year-old note. I watched this a long time ago. I'm a time traveler. Windermerians only live 30 years as a trade-off for their increased physical abilities, right? Have we seen any increased physical abilities yet? I mean, the
uh,
whole rune thing implies that they have biological fold abilities, but I wouldn't think that was all. Hardly seems like that could be a trade-off for such a short lifespan by itself.
yeah. We don't know exactly what that means.
Well, they're not
Also,
coordinators. I know that much.
yeah, and when we know the Centrati also have enhanced physical abilities, and their not lifetimes are not
Yeah, they're
particularly
fucking
short.
immortal. That's the fucking
Yeah.
trade-off.
Well, in at least in full size mode, we don't know if they are immortal in normal. Probably they are.
Yeah, great trade-off. Get smaller and weaker and a limited lifespan. But you'll be able to socialize
Mhm. Okay, so
better.
my next note that yeah. So now they cannot the Windermerians, can only not only incite violence using VARs, but take control of all those who are infected as well. That's a heck of an upgrade.
I'm gonna be jumping through all my notes here. Here's my line up with your thought there. Side thought, I guess Gebernik must have had a protoculture device as the Nun's Var syndrome induced formation attack feels very reminiscent of the glowing orb device that they had used to mind control all those pilots back in Macross 7. I feel like if they had reverse engineered all the proto Devlin stuff, like I said, we would be so much more prepared for all the events of Macross Delta. Hell, we are doing non-violent stuff now to protect everyone. The spiritual draining weapons of the Proto Devlin would have been perfect here, especially since we are singing at people again. Singing to wake them up after we drain them would have been perfect. I know you don't like the Macross 7 shit, but I'm just saying that literally we're in the field now. We're doing the same stuff, just different writing.
I guess that's your next note. Then I guess I
Well,
go
that's my
into
matchup with your note, but we've been treating it as next notes, so keep going.
yeah. So those are my notes for episode 4. So now going to episode 5, Moonlight Dancing. Oh, okay. I get the Nones act as a colonialist empire, at least in Windermere, and that the Windermerians decided to kick them out, as is their right. Which, of course, the humans fought them instead of leaving peacefully. But why extend the war beyond their own world? Now I know they talk about descendants of protoculture later on, but that was the first thought that I had. It's like, okay, fine. You have a right not to be conquered by a foreign power. I'm with you. I'm with you there. Everything else, pretty questionable.
Well, I mean, they're keeping it to the fuck. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna. I'm trying
The
to keep
cluster.
where the cluster. I had the cluster name written down, but I've jumped around so much trying to match your notes that I'm still so far back up on my notes that I'm trying not to lose myself. Um, they're trying to isolate the cluster from influence rather than just their world, which is, the Americans have landed in Hawaii. Fuck, you know. Uh, we've kicked them off of one island. I'm thinking we should probably kick them off all the islands.
Yeah, but I have a note about that, which I won't go into because you have to
Note
catch up with them.
specifically about the Windermerians in Hawaii. That is
No, but
very specific note taking, my friend.
about controlling more territory.
I
But
don't think
yeah,
it's about controlling territory. I think it's about getting out foreign influence.
yeah, but they did that with their own,
You're right, but
their own.
the fucking nuns are still here. My point is that it's the cluster. They're not like invading the whole fucking galaxy, which I don't even know if they could. But you never know. Earth invaded the rest of the galaxy, and it seems pretty successful. For how many Zentradi must have been out there. But yeah, no, I think the Hawaii metaphor is pretty apt, probably.
Yeah, but you think the problem with that is Hawaii. You would think that the archipelago of Hawaii, they share the same culture and maybe even the same kingdom, so that we're united under one. So if they land in multiple islands, you don't just leave them in the main island. You have to kick them out, all of them, because they're also for Hawaiians. But here we have different planets with different people. And again, my note goes into, Ragnar and other places. They get to
All right, well
decide their own decision.
maybe it's sorry, this is the area that I have my ignorance is going to show immediately the moment I start saying stuff. Cuba, Dominican Republic, etc., etc., etc. All the island chains around the that particular region of the world, different peoples, but all being influenced by European powers. Some people decide to get rid of them, some others don't. But maybe if you are a larger military force in the region, that your decision that is what's best for everyone is best for everyone.
Yeah, well, that's just your version of imperialism, right? Under the guise of
Yeah, but if you're fighting imperialism already, then what does it matter if it's a different form of imperialism? At least this version of imperialism is native.
actually no, that defeats the purpose. In fact, that's the opposite. Like, I'm fighting imperialism. How you doing? By being imperialist.
No. I don't say you're fighting imperialism. I'm saying that you're getting rid of foreign influence in favor
Mhm.
of a more closer foreign
Yeah, you're still
influence.
foreign. That's because
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
would,
but your foreign influence is still, influenced by the same cultural norms. Well, some of them
mm,
anyway.
yeah, no,
As
it's no.
opposed to I don't know. I'm just saying that I can understand sort of the idea behind it. I don't know if
I know the idea behind it because it's an idea. I mean, hate to use real history here.
well, probably don't, because that doesn't go
Yeah,
well for us anytime.
yeah. So,
I'm just,
but just say
yeah.
that
That's why
ask ask everyone else around Japan how they think about that.
actually well, that's sorry, real world again.
Yeah,
I was about to say something prescient. God, it's so hard to stop myself from talking sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's the idea. All right. Okay, so maybe I was wrong about Freya being a liar. The earpod thing she was given, sorry, the earpod thing that was given to her by an Earthling when she was younger. I keep saying Earthling all over the place. Just deal with it. The way she describes Windermere appears to be accurate, so I believe that she is from where she says. The fire in her flashback was probably the people burning the Earthling's house down and whatever worse stuff that they did to them. I just don't believe the Mare story about having to get married. She obviously ran away after that flashback in order to see more culture.
Probably not be tagged as a enemy of the state, as
Well,
well.
the Earthling friend that she said that she had when she was younger obviously exposed her to the very culture that Windermere is trying to get rid of. So obviously that's when they got rid of that fucking Earthling. But
Yeah.
she is exposed to that culture and she doesn't want to get rid of it. So that's where she decides to run away. I actually have a future note about literally this very specific thing, but I think it gets separated because it happens across 2 episodes or something.
Now, correction. I'm sure you realized this when the first time, second time you saw it, but and we kind of let it back and forth when we watch it. Just in case I just remembered it, it is Windermere that is surrounded by a dimensional gap, not the entire cluster.
Scrolling down. Windermere is surrounded by a dimensional gap. I have to wonder if that is different from a fold fault like we saw in Macross Frontier. They say that Windermere used dimensional weapons in the War of Independence, and the last time we heard that was Luca's fold bomb in Macross Frontier, implying dimension in this sense means fold space, which I guess makes sense. Super dimensional fortress would just mean super folding fortress by that definition, which would be correct in 2 different forms. I guess maybe also imply that the Proto-Devlin would be from Fold Space, as they come from a different dimension as well, which could be a cool little wrinkle in how to consider them. Less body snatcher dimensional creatures, and more like demons from the warp.
But we have encountered other demons than the warp, so
But again, it just means that dimension it means fold now.
now there's a discussion in, and this is I'm prefacing this note because this happens when they're aboard the headquarters ship, and they're talking about VARs. So put your mind into that kind of discussion where I'm at this moment. If the Windermereans are not responsible for all the VARs infestations, then who is?
I
Is it?
I started writing a note about that, but then I
Mhm.
stopped very specifically because you're going the path down I was going. They imply that the VAR syndrome before that was experimentation by the Windermeres. They say they're not responsible for all of them, and then, like a second later, they say, "Oh, the other ones were experiments."
No, but the way I understood it was that the ones they activated were experiments, and there were still others. So I parsed them out. Like, they're not responsible for all infestations, but the ones where they had the higher biofold readings are the ones that the Windermeres were experimenting on and using.
Well, then maybe I should have taken a note because very specifically, we're going 2 different tracks here. The track I was going down originally was the same as yours. It's like, okay, if they didn't make it, then it's a naturally occurring thing. But then she says, oh, no, everything before this was just them experimenting. So it's like, that's where I'm at, but apparently you're diverging from the process, my thought process, which is to say, the stuff that they're doing now, the stuff that has like a high biological fold signature, is the stuff that they're doing now, and everything that came before was them experimenting with it.
It could be, but I'm guessing that there might be a point of divergence there.
Again, she says experimenting, so that's why I erased the entire thought process. I thought it was self-explanatory by what she said. It's very confusing that you say the one thing and then you say another thing 2 seconds later, but she says it. So, it's implied that Lady M has a plan for Freya, and when they all get attacked on planet Rander, Buccaneer shoves Freya to the ground and shields her with her own body. Buccaneer, the only one we know who is in contact with Lady M.
Or because simply protecting the weakest member of the.
Or protecting the one she specifically has orders about.
Yeah. Either way. Uh, if Hayate's pendant is a full crystal, which we both suspect it is, that would explain why he felt the song, as full crystals were used by the Varja to communicate through fault space, and
I mean,
many
not,
examples of the
as,
hearing music through the crystal and all that in Frontier. So
yeah, that's why I was trying to jump in real quick. The whole earring thing was how Alto heard Renka
Cheryl
and Cheryl singing.
and Cheryl, yeah.
Of all the Delta Squad members, Messer seemed the most affected by Hines singing, implying that he's likely going to get Vard in the future.
Yeah,
Also,
he
to
has
my
a.
point about Messer being a more complicated character, is that I think he's going to go through this whole story arc sort of thing.
He's gonna betray Delta,
Well, he's going to
probably.
get mind controlled, or whatever we're considering the Vard to be. Again, if I'm thinking this is similar tech to the device Gepinik used, implying that Proto Devlin fought the protoculture. The fact that is that they might have protoculture devices still and know how to use them, and we considered it mind control back then. So I'm probably just going to carry it forward and say it's mind control now.
If the young prince is a wind singer, it makes it why his older brother bowed to him in the manner that he did in episode 4.
The Aerial Knights reveal at the end of episode 4 was the Megamind presentation move. It was great.
It was. And also, I like the fact that he used smoke to have the hologram show up in the sky, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, so they're not
It's a
villains,
cheap.
they're super villains.
Yeah. My next note. Royd, I love this name, claims that he wants to avoid bloodshed, but VAR's outbreaks have been pretty bloody so far, with acts of terrorism and mass attacks on civilians, not to mention the destruction of at least one defense fleet. Also, mind control as a weapon doesn't make much of a liberation if the people you are liberating have no say in the matter.
Again, experiments. I
I
think
mean,
the previous ones that were like uprising, riot sort of things, those were the experiments. Now we can fucking mind control them, so it will be bloodless. We just
yeah,
have them
yeah, but
under our
the way
control.
you got, yeah, okay, well, sure, but the way you got to it was, yeah, people blowing themselves, killing each other, and they took advantage of the fact that the Centrati were attacking to then try to attack Valcour and get information on them. So they were perfectly willing to use what essentially was a mass terrorist attack to their benefit.
My initial argument before you got into the space of the VAR stuff would have been bloodless on our end. None of us are bleeding.
That's not bloodless. That
That
just happens to
sure it
be
is. Blood.
less casualties on one side doesn't mean that there are no casualties in the
Oh no,
other.
no, I'm saying
That's
that all we
not.
care about is Windermere. So bloodless on
Oh
our
yeah,
end.
sure.
I want a
Oh yeah, I
bloodless
just
war. I don't want any of us to bleed.
I nuked the entire planet. Well, and that was bloodless. But there's an entire planet you nuked. Yes, but we didn't get nuked, so it was bloodless.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair,
Yeah,
that's
that
how I
doesn't
would
work.
want my leaders to be. I want us not to suffer. Oh, okay.
Your next note then.
I think my next note is one of my, for me, notes. Brasinger Alliance, so it's all these individual worlds grouped together as an alliance versus the Kingdom of Windermere. What a very familiar sort of setup.
Yeah.
Not like it's Zaft in the Earth Alliance or Xeon in the Earth Federation. It's a very, very familiar thing we've got going on here.
Another PMC SD, and I put it in quotes, hero organization, and now under contract by the Ragna government to protect them against Windermere.
Again, just feels like one of my self notes. It's just a thing that's true. It's not any commentary I could give on that. I think I mentioned before how I hadn't seen any other Windermerian with Freya's rune. Well, no longer true. Last episode, they were showing the Earth City ships coming down on Windermere. The woman closest to the camera perspective had a heart rune in her hair. Also, when they're flying back after the attacks and everything, the I think it's the same. Literally, I think it's the same exact family because the woman with the kid, same rune, heart rune.
Also, it seems that there's a difference between men and women. Men tend to have two long runes,
Not all of
matching
them
runes,
though.
and women. Well, no, because he was older and apparently somebody had chopped off his runes.
Well,
One
also
of
some
the
of the women also just have the little star thing too. Again,
yeah, but the
the
one, not
shot of the
not two.
Windermerian ships coming down,
Yeah, yeah.
there was other women in the shot who didn't have heart runes, so
But they had the one rune, a star or something else.
I wasn't counting. At the same time, though, I have specifically was looking for the heart rune thing before, so
Yeah, and this is based on what again? What's her name? Mikana? Venus. I always call her Venus, which is a title, not a name. Uh, Dangerous PR to use Freya Windermere status to drive interest in the group. Sure, scandal sell, but also harm as well.
that's sex.
Yeah, but if you're trying to assure people that they should trust Walkure, saying that you have a spy in your group is like, well, that's salacious. We could use that. I'm like,
Well, because she's just weird. Again, she's the mysterious one. Her singing is mystery is her line.
Yeah.
And she's
Hmm.
constantly like, if you don't impress me, I'm gonna kick you out. So clearly, I don't think
And
anything really matters to her. And it's Lady M that's pushing the whole, um, if we can get Freya's thing in control, we can strengthen her uh, uh, biological fold thing. So clearly,
yeah,
she's
and
the centerpiece of Valkyr.
it's Mikuno. That's the name because I literally my last node, and I'll say my last node because it kind of brands out
Oh, you only
everything.
have one left? Okay.
Yeah. What is Mikuno's angle in all of this?
We already,
That's the
literally,
question.
yeah, we already covered that.
Yeah.
You said a thing, and then I had a whole note about her whole mystery thing that I responded to you with. And again, I don't know. I go back and edit previous notes. The difference is I don't edit notes in previous note taking segments. I edit notes in the block that we're watching because I don't keep track of them in specific episodes. Well, I still have a bunch more. I don't know what is up with the shows we've watched recently having all too familiar political sting to them. Windermere is upset that the new United Nations enacted unfair trade relations with them and are now going to war over it. A trade war, if you will.
Well, I think there's a statement of a large statement that essentially, and I mentioned that in my notes that the nuns basically are a colonialist, an imperial colonialist power, and they're like, oh, there's people here. Is it habitable? We're just gonna land here, and now everybody has to be part of the nuns way to do things. And people are like,
What
how
if
about we
the
don't do that?
what if the end message of Macross is actually that we were the bad guys?
Yeah.
That the Neutrati probably should have taken us out.
Well, they did try.
Right, and then what happened? We spread like locusts to the rest of the galaxy.
I mean, I get colonizing the galaxy. I do not get colonizing existing peoples. That's the part of it. Like, oh, is it? I didn't have it. Okay, never mind. We'll do trade, whatever, from a distance. You keep your planet. We can be friends. You keep your planet. We'll go over here instead.
I think I got 5 more. I'm thinking the white on people's faces that I used to think was probably another alien race is just the sign of old age in Windermerians. It's either that or a disease which is killing them, considering we've indicated that Heinz is ill with something. Could be our first contact with that as a plot point. Herman is 33 and has white all over his face. The king looks older than that and has it as well. And pointedly didn't have it when he was younger. Uh, that image that we got of him as a younger man.
Yeah,
Kasim is 23 and has none at the moment. Could be
but it's certainly
their
tilted.
version of wrinkles.
Yeah, I mean, they are aliens, human aliens, but still aliens.
Humanoid aliens. The Shrines of Time, implying more than one. Same thing with the relics, as Royd says, the rest of the relics.
Kind of reminds me of the temple or ruins that we found that we talked about in that movie,
The Macross Frontier
Frontier movie.
short film,
Yeah, yeah, short film.
and whatever the fuck it does. That's why I said the indication towards not proto Devlin, proto culture relics just being used wrong. That maybe they have a purpose, but if you use them wrong, who the fuck knows, right? It's essentially god tech. I'll say this, the Windermerian people are very much a show and tell species. If you are ever wondering if they are really feeling what they are saying, just look to their runes. If they are glowing, then you know that they mean it or feel very strongly about it. Though Herman seems to imply that having your rune showing an emotion is frowned upon in their society. As Bogu's rises up and glows, and he tells him to act his age. Not sure what that means to when the kings are glowing and floating off as he talks.
Well, it's implied, I think, that the king is also under stress, and he seems to like catch himself, like, oh, when it happens. So
So it implies that everything that Freya does all the time would be seen as childish to the rest of the Windermerians.
yeah. Also, there's a comment I should have put a note about this when I don't know if you did when Hayate touches
You
uh
pervert.
yeah, he says, oh, you're a pervert, like apparently that you know
I mean, I didn't take a note about it, no, but I think I commented on it when it was happening in the
Mhm.
show. Because
Yeah.
she also says something about it before, like when he first meets her in the storage thing in episode 1, he comments
Mhm.
about it, and she gets all like, "Ah, so no, it wasn't there. It was after. It was when they first meet Mirage when they're running down the thing. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it looks like the king was the former White Knight, as they say it's a title passed down generational lines. That would mean that they knew that the person they were fighting was related to the royal family the moment that they identified him as a White Knight. All right, and my last note. Last episode, Freya plays a song from her player that is clearly from Walkir, but it is a love song about their rune glowing. Only Windemirians have runes. This player came from back on Windermere, given to her by an Earthling. I think the song itself indicates towards the time before the War of Independence, when such a song would have been possible. Likely to the time where we see Ernst looking at a picture of the king, flanked by what seems to be humans next to his silver Valkyrie.
I mean, Welcour could work like Menudo. You don't know what Menudo is?
I know the band Menuda. I don't know.
Okay. It started. Well, actually, it was a boy band, an idol boy band. If you think about it, it's a influence. It started in the 1970s, and the thing was that these were kids, and when they reached the age, well, basically when their voice would break, they would kick out the kid and get a new one. So the idea was that it would last. It lasted all the way into the 1980s because they would have a constant, new groups coming in every 3 or 4 years. They will have a new roster, right? So Walcour could operate like that, right? There could have been Walcour, could have existed just as a idol band a couple years before, and then new members come in.
I'm not leaning towards the Walkir part of the note.
Mhm.
I'm just
Yeah.
indicating that it's Walkir because when she's holding the thing, the Walkir symbol comes up and its obvious sounds like Walkir. My
Mhm, mhm.
indication is more towards Walkir. I don't feel like would be singing a song specifically aimed towards Windemarians in this
Mhm.
current day and age.
No.
And we know that this thing was given to her by the Earthling friend that she had back in Windermere, which would have been before the War of Independence, back when they would have been spreading their culture to Windermere before they decided, fuck that, stop doing this to us. So, also, it'd be a really dirty song as for a whole "Don't touch that, you pervert" thing, singing about
Yeah.
someone's runes. But that's my indication. The source of the song and the source of the device she's playing it on being that this would have been Wolkir singing to Windemirians on Windermere, something of that
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess if we were leaning into the leaning into the Volkir nature, are any of our current group from that time? To what you're saying about Menudo, did was it a previous Volkir group? Do these girls know about events that happened during the War of Independence? We know Ernst does because Ernst was fucking
Yeah.
there. Arad apparently was as well. It seems like to the conversation.
I think Chuck also mentioned something about fighting as humans and being part of the war.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I don't know if he mentions the War of Independence, but the other conversation he has with Mirage about have you ever fought against humans? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. But we don't know if the Volkir girls have. Like, are these the same girls singing about the rune thing as the ones that are currently here? Because that could change the entire perception of how they are looking at Freya as a Windemirian if they
Mhm.
were at Windermere before singing about all this shit.
Yeah.
Like, why
I
would
mean,
you be?
they're also constantly recruiting. So
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. I mean, we don't know how long that's been going on.
Mhm.
Like, why would? Because they're not recruiting to replace; they're recruiting to expand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it was like a Menudo thing, they would be recruiting to replace somebody, which was the original thought when um, Hiate says, "Oh, that one's not syncing up," and I think I had that in a note. Oh, they might be replacing somebody because they're falling out. It's like no, that
Yeah.
that was Mirage. That's
Although
nothing to
also with
do.
Menudo, the the group usually stayed around 5 members, but it could grow up to like 7 or 9 and then contract again. So again, it depends on how many kids they would have at any moment. Right?
I mean, technically, though, we're in like a for-hire group with a purpose.
Yeah.
Right? This is essentially like, we need more Doctors Without Borders. Like, it just happens that Doctors Without Borders is part musical when we get down to it.
Is that it?
All right. Well, I guess that's everything. Yeah. So if that's everything, I guess there's nothing left but to hop on into it.
But before we get started,
Make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
on top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Got your daughter, Chuck.
右後方の警戒が甘い。原田隊長のフォローがなければ落とされていた。はい。以上だ。
You suck, Hayate. That's my note.
ちょっと待てよ。呼び止めておいて俺には何にもなしかよ。論外だ。話をする価値もない。いや。
As per the previous discussion we had.
実戦ではためらうな。確実に敵を落とせ。この3回の戦闘でお前は敵の翼しか狙っていない。ミラージ少尉、お前もだ。
What do you think this is? Gundam Seed?
新統合軍のパイロットは操られているだけです。
隊長やチャックだって新統合軍とやるときは翼を狙ってるぜ。隊長たちにはその技術がある。だが、お前たちは違う。今のままでは必ず死ぬ。
周囲、私のミスについてもう少し詳しく。
お前の操縦は正確だ。ミスもあえて言えばという程度に過ぎない。
では。
So I'm just thinking back to Macross 7, where even Gamelin shot at the mind-controlled people.
だから次の動きがすぐ読める。歴戦の勇者を相手にすれば一瞬で撃ち落とされるだろう。早手順位は。
She has experience.
Yeah, but he's saying her moves are textbook. Anybody that knows how to fly, any experienced combatant pilot would know how to take you out.
いずれ死ぬことに変わりはないが。
Saying, Ian, you're calling him a dick, but I think this is literally what you need.
Yeah, they need to hear it.
To what benefit would it be to sugarcoat anything?
Yeah, they're in combat. They're in war, so.
Well, yeah, now they're in war, but I mean, even before.
Only they were being attacked. The other side wasn't pulling any punches, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, more than that, they were pulling tricks. You know, here's your mind control guy, and you're trying to take him out non-violently, and then, what's his name? Bogue comes up right behind. Oh, you're trying to take that guy. I'm going to take your ass out. So, yeah, what I'm saying is, you need that harshness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Messer here wants to be, like, at the funeral saying, oh, man, I should have said more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to, because we only have so many more weeks of Macross left. But if I was, I'd probably have myself redrawn as Messer.
Oh.
Well, to be fair, this guy hasn't shown up in fucking ever.
I do have a question, though. Where did the Windemirians get the technology for their advanced fighters?
Probably the War of Independence. They probably just have a bunch of leftover Earth tech that they reverse engineered and then rebuilt.
I mean, maybe, but...
It's not super advanced. It's like literally just on par with everybody else.
I mean, they have full holographic cockpits and everything else.
Yeah,
and
so
even
does
drone
Walkir.
control. Yeah, but that's top of the line stuff.
You're saying it's top of the line. We don't have any proof that it's top of the line. It could just be standard. You say, but if you don't, then it's not gonna be. My favorite part about Risk is when I'm stuck in Australia. The real fun is turning it all around. You know I'm going to be screenshotting that star layout. Still a thief. You didn't return it. I thought you did. Well, that would be... Yep, that's right. She's the one with the rainbow voice. We covered that when she was walking in episode 1. What a very Durandal look.
Yeah.
ついね。だって気になるじゃない？歌声からほとばしる命の輝き。不思議ね。あなたから
Random thought occurs to me. You could hide that you're owned Demirian by just cutting your hair a little bit.
Wait, can you cut off your rune, though?
Yeah, you already indicated that one guy had his rune cut off. I'm not saying it'd be super pleasant, but you could do it.
Yeah, she's the booby character in this
So
show.
how are you not like all over her? She's like
I like-
Viphitas for this show.
No, but Venus was strong and tall, and
She's strong and tall.
well, she only shows up with a, low cut. That's it. That's all
It's
she
her
has.
outfit.
But,
You have a problem with her outfit?
no,
Are you shaming her for the way she dresses?
no, I'm just saying that's what she dresses. That's the only thing she has, and that she likes Messer.
あの目で何も感じないなんて言われると。はあ、あらあら、ルンクロ。ところでミラミラは？
一人で居残り。ま、あんだけ言われりゃね。
See, they have simulators.
本にミクモさんも厳しいかんね。ステージはかっこいいけど、長い髪がブワーって流れて。
あいつのメッサーの飛び方もな。青い空に一筋、スッとまっすぐなスリ
Either that, or I think Messer's the one who's gonna die.
死神の異名は伊達じゃないってね。テクニックは隊長よりも上かもな。
Sorry, just going on about how Messer flies is like he's flying in a straight line.
はやはやなんかもう大変。
True, but
一回飛んだら徹夜明けのお肌みたいで、お化粧のノリも最悪って感じ。ボロボロカサカサ。その点、メサメサの
I mean, it looks like a donut, but you know it's filled with seafood.
yeah,
もちもちプルプル。
okay.
操縦の負荷が少ないってこと。
Sex sells. I already covered this in the notes.
Yeah, I know.
確かにな。
The thing is, all the girls are hanging out and what's supposed to be the guys'
そうなんや。
restaurant and what do they call it?
悔しいけど
Dorm.
Dorm. Yeah.
That's why I said they were lying. She was lying. She didn't want to go out with Chuck.
明日の訓練で
Very specifically, Chuck has a line about I haven't even dated anybody yet, and then the 3 like bridge bunnies of this show like they go backwards.
だいぶスパルタでやってるそうじゃないか。
戦いで生き残るためです。
お手柔らかに頼むぜ。で、お前の方はどうなんだ？体は大丈夫なのか？
特に問題ありません。
ならいいが、無理はすんなよ。
Is he sick or something?
He was the one who was most, again, affected by the song.
なものが手に入ったんですけど。
お、バレッタ猫。
So I guess if he has like an illness or something, that would
いいですね。
denote why he was most affected.
明日の準備がありますので。
あら、そう。じゃあまた今度ね。お疲れ様。
猫クラゲだぞ。最高級品だぞ。
I hate living on this planet.
いつも愛想のないやつで。
Well, I guess it's all fish.
No, it's just saying any character who's like, I miss hamburgers.
Yeah.
The one that we saw in the image that I didn't take a good enough look at yet. Hines is singing, and we know Hines singing makes him sicker.
But seems to be there's a protoculture something in that other planet.
Yeah, we talked
that
about the
he's
different...
activated.
These two. They were in the background of the bridge scene before.
Yeah, those very much look like fold crystals.
はい、いつ様。
I mean, I said that in episode 1, but apparently they're relics here.
キース、その格好は。
敵の偵察隊が西風域に近づいていたので排除してきた。そのような報告は受けていない。ハインツ様の歌声なくして西風圏の確率はありえません。何卒我らの胸に翼をお与えください。しかし
構わない。それが僕の責務だ。その代わり一刻も早くこの戦争を終わらせてほしい。
必ず大地に刻まれて。
See, he also seems to only have one. Also is blue, so he meant it. Was it show and tell species? Whoa. Insult.
今度こそあの死神野郎見返してやろうぜ。ほら。
What are you talking about? You can't even catch a sea cat yet.
そうね。
I'd also stop eating the apples, because we know that they're imported from Windermere. Yeah, I legit have no idea how to fight the mind control thing, because it's not even like turning your radio off like it was back when this Entrati. You just get hit by something from deep space. Cool, it fits. I don't know what the point of that was.
Calibration, I guess.
I guess the only reason that these guys are anywhere near safe is because Walkure is nearby.
Mhm.
Also, I guess remember that you're on the same side. Oh, she changed from vigor to energy.
You heard that the voice actress singer for Mikuno was 14 when she started in this show.
What form was that? Jet form, but arms. I was like, what would the point of that be? I guess rotational guns, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did he just say our pure blue world? I think I heard a little Gundam Seed again.
You're not doing so hot there, dude.
Again, because he sucks. I'll say I think Macross Delta has a stronger ensemble
Yeah.
than a lot of the other Macross shows so far, but it does have its weaker main character.
Yeah. Don't get into that fight, dude.
Can't even keep
Rookie
up with
mistake.
it. I can't catch up.
You're in combat. Of course they're gonna attack you.
cool, but how does that help him? He's breakdance fighting.
Yeah. Capoeira.
I'm just joking about Zoolander. I think it does also show that I might be right about the whole Basara thing. Because it seems to indicate that Heinz is singing is as strong as 5 of the Walküre members. So it's not like saying that Basara was stronger than them isn't already a thing that the show is displaying.
There goes Delta.
I think it's probably more likely that Bogey is about to die. Or Bogu, rather. And I'll wait for you. As per Gundam rules, no one can point a gun at a cockpit filled with main characters. To be fair, I haven't gotten that guy's name yet, so...
Yeah.
I don't even think I had him on the board yet, in fact. I don't recognize his face. It would be very surprising if we lost a genus like in episode 5. Did he get him?
I think he did.
It very much looked like he had nothing in his hand. It's like the explosion took him.
Yeah. Well, he's not Basara. He actually killed somebody. Or at least tried to, anyway.
I mean, assuming that he did. Because they're staring at it as though, oh no, we just killed the guy. And again, it didn't seem like Herman had anybody in his hands.
Yeah. No, that's the question, is he? Can he fight?
Well, it also explains why I'd never seen that guy before. He was introduced to die.
Well, I think he's one of the twins, though.
I don't think so. Well, maybe. I was thinking that, but I thought the twins only had one apiece on opposite sides, and this guy had one and then a second one. Runes, I mean.
Yeah. All very important questions.
新統合軍に入って1年目でした。あるアイランド戦を占拠しようとした反統合勢力と戦闘中。
That bridge is way too long.
覚悟はしていたつもりでした。
Also, it's got really up and down dips. What the fuck?
Yeah. I don't know where it connects though. I
To
think
that-
is that
to that
supposed to go
other bridge.
around? Yeah.
Stupidest bridge in existence.
表に出さないだけできっとみんな苦しんでいるはずです。隊長もメッサー中尉もジャック少尉も一人殺すたびに重荷が一つ増えていく。
Unless you're a psychopath.
それを背負い続けることが私たちの戦士の責任なんです。そして重荷を一つ背負うたびに誰かの幸せを一つ守ることができるのなら
We fight so others don't have to. We will die so others may live.
I think I need more of a reason to kill somebody than to protect someone's happiness.
I mean, happiness. I think it's life.
She said happiness. Like,
I know.
that's like killing someone for someone else's pursuit of happiness. No, I think I would kill somebody for someone's safety, for their right to live, not for their happiness. Something about the name Chuck. Throwing it into every, like, serious conversation. It's like, Chuck. Also Chuck. Also, the element that Hayate is literally a combination of all of the other main pilots throughout the history of the show. Like, he's got elements of every one of their personalities. You put them all together and you make a worse character, is what I've gotten.
Well, he's shedding the Basara. I'm not going to kill people. He does realize, hey, this is a war and I have to do what needs to be done, right?
Yeah, but he's got other Basara categories. Or traits, rather. You know what the Spartans did with kids that...
What the hell is that?
Remember, they used dimensional weapons during the War of Independence. I'm assuming that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's either that or it's the Well of Souls, and Hines is about to get the the drum beat of time in his head.
I guess.
Hines becomes like the master.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do think that the series is more grounded than 7.
I think it's just doing the same stuff. Not the same stuff. It is using elements from 7, but it's not going mysticism on it. Although, to be fair, I guess near the end, 7 wasn't doing mysticism. It just wasn't... You know, it's the fact, like, the doctor's like, I don't remember what he says, like, mantras and what fuck. It's like, what the fuck, man? And they stopped using that near the end, so...
Yeah.
This is like using scientific definitions for the stuff that we did in 7.
Yeah. But also the fact that this conflict, you know, the opposition clearly has some valid points, you know. I don't agree with them expanding beyond their planet, of course, but besides that, it's like, hell, you know, we have a right to be independent. You don't get to come on a planet and dictate to us what we have to be, right? That
also,
I agree with.
The element that the Windermere War of Independence was happening, what, a year after the Vajra War?
Yeah.
ウィンダミアは占領した星で一体何を行っているのか。敵の懐に飛び込み、これを調査する。ウィンダミア占領下の惑星ボルドールに潜入せよ。
So are they going to be as effective as the characters of Gundam Seed Destiny? Which is to say, Lady Emma's told us to do a thing, fucked off, didn't do it. Or are they actually going to do it?
Well, it looks like somebody failed there.
I'm going to make a guess. I'm going to throw shit at a wall and see if it sticks. My
Yeah.
guess is that they are planting dimensional weapons on all of these planets. And what could the end goal be? The end goal is to create a dimensional barrier across the entire thing. The same way as there's one around their planet, they're going to make one around the whole cluster.
Yeah.
So the whole goal isn't so much independence of all of the of all of these other planets, it's actually the independence of Windermere again, but with the resources of the cluster. We need to expand. But we don't need these other people. We need room to expand, though. Which would actually be another real-world thing.
Yeah. Interesting episode. Much better than the whole test episode, that's for sure. That to me right now is the lowest episode of the whole series so far. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I know that you have a spoiler for something late in the show, right?
Well, I think I may have
Don't
been
tell
wrong on
me,
that one,
obviously. Because obviously don't tell me. I'm just saying you have admitted to having a spoiler for something near the end of the show. I don't have a spoiler, but I do have something that was said somewhere. I can't remember what it was. I read it, which is to say that the show gets better in its second half. So, what? Being like pedantic about it, episode 13 and higher, I guess, would be the show gets better.
How many episodes is this?
26.
26. So yeah, 13.
That's what I'm saying. I don't have a spoiler for anything that happens or why that is true, or even what the person or people thought of the first half. Just they say it gets better in the second half. So if you think it's good now, apparently it gets better later.
Here's to hoping. I mean, it's not bad now. It's not like, oh my god, it's the best thing ever. But it's like I'm watching, I'm having a good time. I'm engaged, right?
I don't know that I was ever like that for any of Macross. Oh my god, this is the best thing ever. Like, I was excited for the start of Macross Frontier. And then, pedantic nature drew that down a little bit. I really enjoyed Macross Zero, but the problem with Macross Zero is that it was the first Macross thing that I had watched. So, literally, I couldn't have been, oh my god, this is the best thing ever, because I was comparing it to, like, other anime at that point. I wasn't comparing it to other Macross stuff. SDM Macross was fine. Macross Plus I didn't like. I guess I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever when I listened to the Macross 7 soundtrack. Because literally, it's like, I would compare the Macross 7 soundtrack to like the Gundam Wing soundtrack, which is to say, this is a bunch of really good stuff.
Okay.
Well, again, in matters of taste, you lose. We already covered this at the very beginning.
Of course.
Yes. Look, you might occupy camera space 1, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I had nowhere to go with that, actually. I'm not going to deride you for anything. It's a running joke at this point. I don't even take it seriously. You have your own taste. I have my own taste. Whatever the fuck. I don't like EDM. I don't like electronica like you do. Well, I guess technically I do like some EDM. I don't like any of the EDM that's shown up in anime so far. I don't like electronica, certainly. Because if whatever happened in Macross Plus was EDM, I did not like it. Sam I am. I will not eat it with green eggs or ham.
Yes.
So yeah, Macross 7 was my kind of music, and it is the only real example of that happening in anime that I can remember, like, off the top of my head. Like, Macross 7, Liberate Me from Gurren Lagann. Like, I can't think of any other, like, songs like that really jump out at me. Again, when I keep saying that Firebomber is the best, I mean it's the best, and like the music was so good that they keep going. There's a lot of Macross that goes on tour, but they made albums that aren't even attached to an anime anymore and are selling them really well. That's how good Firebomber is. Firebomber is so good, they turned into a real band. It's like, that's pretty good. You've transcended the anime. Weirdly, in Macross Delta, they call them the Firebomber. What was that, episode 4?
Yeah. That's Freya recounting all the influences on her.
I thought about making a note about it, but I didn't. Because she goes, Lin Min Mei, the Firebomber, Cheryl Name, Ranka Lee. It's like, it's kind of funny that you didn't mention Sharon Apple. But also, I feel disappointed that you didn't mention Sarah Name either. But again, Sarah Name, not an idol. Though technically she's an idol for the purposes of Macross. Because, you know, if there's a video game that features Macross Zero in it, then Sarah Name and... oh god, I'm blanking. I want to say Shin, but was it Shin? It wasn't Shin.
It was Chin, the guy with the pilot. You're talking about his sister, though?
I'm talking about the pilot. You're like, there's Shin, and then there's the pilot. I'm like, no. You're talking.
Chin is the pilot.
That's
Chin
what I'm talking about then. I don't think it was Shin. Was Shin and Sarah?
Yeah, Chin and Sarah. Yeah,
okay.
It was Chin.
Well, because I mean, if there's a Macross game and it includes stuff from Macross Zero, then which most of them do because they all fucking time travel for some reason, then it's Shin shows up as your pilot and Sarah is your idol. So technically, she's considered an idol for the purposes of Macross, even though for the purposes of reality, she's not an idol because she doesn't release any hits or sing in front of an audience. In fact, she tries to avoid singing in front of an audience. Probably because she does most of her singing naked. Maybe that's where, what's her name gets it.
Mikuno?
You called her Venus earlier, and technically it's, you know, Venus is the name of the group as well. It's part of the name of the group. So that's just confused in my head now when I don't have the board open.
Well, she's known as the Mysterious Venus. Wildcore is the name of the group.
No. When they sing out the name of the group at the start of performances, Venus is also part of the name of the group that they sing out. Yeah, and obviously, unless you lost connection to the galaxy at a very certain year, you wouldn't know, or you wouldn't include Sharon Apple in the list of idols. Technically, she was one, but, you know, it's like,
a coup d'etat, I think, it's something that, you know, puts a asterisk on your...
Well, I mean, no, it was more of a coup.
Yeah, that's a coup d'etat. It's a whole,
sorry, you said coup d'etat. I was thinking of something else when you said it. It was that's why I was confused for a moment when you said it out loud. No, I was I was confused because I was also trying to think of her name. The Japanese lady that was on the radio during World War II.
Tokyo Rose?
Yeah, Tokyo Rose. Sort of a Tokyo Rose situation. But, because again, if you, like, were a fan of Sharon Apple in a real early beginning, and then lost connection to the rest of the galaxy, you'd be like, I'm a real fan of that Sharon Apple. Has she released anything new? And like, bad news.
She's kind of dead, sort of.
Yeah, well, I mean, as dead as you can be when you weren't real to begin with.
You wanted to be a real girl. I mean, briefly she was real.
I mean, she's just a copy of a other person's mental state.
True.
And technically, there's no reason she couldn't show up again. Technically, what's his name was making a copy of her, like literally stealing her. So,
yeah, but they didn't get the whole code, I guess.
I can't imagine there's not like a video game or a manga where, you know, some like backup database or something doesn't like spring to life and then she tries to do a thing. I think that would be real funny to see if it showed up in Delta, like, because she'd be so far out technologically.
Yeah.
God, I can think so much faster now. Now I just need somebody to plug me in with military hardware like they did last time.
There you go. Yeah, so that was this episode.
That was this episode. Alright, well, I guess if that's it, then once again, I've been Theta, this has been Lessons, we've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.